What's good, people? Welcome to Nightcap with Mr. P, brought to you by Straight Talk with Dr. B. He, I can see you hear me. Mike check 1, 2. Can you hear me? Hope so. About a little bit. This show is brought to you by all the corner brothers out there in the land. It's not cool to be young lady. But if you're a corny brother, shout out to all my corny brothers out there. Glad to be back here tonight. Back to Nightcap. Something I want to talk about tonight. And too major, you know, what's been going on. Today is 3/30/23, March 30th, 2023. And if you've been paying attention, not what we're going to talk about, but your boy, former president, the orange man himself, Mr. Grab him by the, you know what, Mr. Great, Mr. MAGA himself was indicted or will be indicted. I guess you could say he's indicted today, and charges will be coming down the pipeline. You know, so for those of you who was looking for this, are you excited? Me personally, doesn't move me one way or the other. You know, he's got away with a whole lot of politicians got away with much worse. So we'll see. It's going to take over our timeline, our news cycle going forward. So, you know, get ready, be prepared for them to talk about this upcoming trial and indictment or whatever it is in the news cycle for the next 6 to 10 months, however long it takes. So 3/30/23, where were you when you found out that Mr. Orange Man himself, Mr. AKA number, what was he, 45? Number Mr. Gold Toilet Man, Mr. Trump himself, Mr. Mar-a-Lago, Mr. Grab him by the what? Was indicted today. But we're not going to talk about that. Just figured I'd drop that off in there. I want to talk to you guys about some things that's been going on in the news cycle and some things that I've just, you know, come across. And I keep getting signs, I keep getting indications to breach this topic just by stuff I see in everyday news, things I see watching TV, watching shows. You know, shout out to BMF if you've been watching that show. Great show, 50 doing this thing. But I wanted to talk tonight. Let me make sure I get my stuff right for you. Bear with me 1 second. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to talk to you tonight about, I guess I'm not going to use the normal term that they use called domestic violence. I really want to talk about intimate partner violence. Intimate partner violence. Everybody knows what the term domestic violence is. And usually when you hear domestic violence, it's usually more leaned toward, and I guess the first image that comes into mind usually is with the man being the abuser. So when you think of domestic violence, most people think, you know, Ike putting his hands on anime. So that's the first image that usually comes to your mind. So I really wanted to kind of talk to you guys really more so about intimate partner violence. So let me check this audio real quick. Give me 1 second, because if it sounds a little different to me. So bear with me. Let me check this audio real quick. Shout out to our sponsors, which we don't have. Let me see if that clears it up a little bit. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe Mr. P is getting old. And let me see. Can you hear this? Shots fired. You can hear that? All right. How about this? Be like water, flow, whatever it is. No? Hopefully you can hear that. Or what? Okay, so maybe hopefully the audio is good for you. But what's really been hitting the news cycle, let me share my desktop with you really quick. And this kind of brought it to some of my attention to your boy who's been all over the place, my man, Jonathan Majors. Jonathan Majors, hot thing out right now in terms of Black actors. He's dropping movies, seems like every other week. If you ain't saw that Creed 3, shout out to Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors. Great storyline, great action in Creed 3. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. I haven't seen Ant-Man yet, so he's in Ant-Man, Quantum of Solace. This brother's been, on and popping. He's been doing his thing. He's been risen. He's been put on the pedestal. He's meeting all his goals. He's the new Negro, for lack of a better words. But he's the one who's been the hot. He's hot like fire now. Like Dylan. Hot like fire. He spits hot fire. This man is on a trajectory to be one of the, the next big thing, right? But unfortunately, this brother got into some situation with I'm going to say an intimate partner. And right now, it's costing him in the court of public opinion. As we know, many melanated brothers are guilty until proven innocent. But basically what happened is there was an incident with him and a young lady. And the police was involved, and he wound up getting arrested, right? So he was charged with 2 counts of assault in the 3rd degree, which are misdemeanors, and a lesser charge of attempted assault in the 3rd degree, aggravated harassment in the 2nd degree, and harassment in the 2nd degree. So this brother, they threw the book at him. They threw the book at this brother. Now, apparently, he's the one who called the popos. He's the one who called the law. He's the one that called the law. But he's the one who took the brunt of whatever was going down. So we don't know what happened. Allegedly, he was in an altercation with his intimate partner in a cab. And at some point, the authorities was called to the scene. And the story initially that it broke was that he was arrested for abuse, domestic type abuse or whatever was going on with his intimate partner. And just like that, as soon as he was arrested, snap of a finger, bam, the Army pulled his ad, which is supposed to come up in the upcoming Final Four. So if you ain't been keeping up with March Madness has been great. Final Four, big stage. He's the new voice of the Army ads to be all you can be. And the Army said, as soon as they heard word, they cut the brother loose. They cut him loose because he's what? Guilty until proven innocent. So no investigation. They just, hey, once that word comes down, bam, you're expendable, brother. You're expendable. So they cut that brother loose and pulled his ads for the Army. So I don't know what other investments he's lost or opportunities he's lost or may lose in the future. But that's yet to be seen. But what seems to be going on now is that, according to his attorney, that he's going to be vindicated, and that the woman has recanted her story, and there was I think there was accusations of strangulation and all that stuff. She is, I believe, now recanting her story, pulling back on this story, and according to his attorney, he will be fully exonerated. But as we all know, in the court of public opinion, that brother, the damage has already been done, right? So it's interesting when you see the dichotomy, or you do a juxtapose this brother right here, how fast these charges have come down on this brother over the weekend. And then we got our former, and they've been running down these charges for 2 years, 3 years, a long time. It's just funny how the justice system moves at the speed that it wants to move. But that's here. I digress. That's a different story. But this brother came down these charges quick, like that. They threw him up there. They was like, bloop, bloop, bloop. They spanked this brother quick. Wasn't no investigation, wasn't no time to sweep it on the rug, nothing. And it may be because this is the environment that we in, that people are so triggered, and the politically correctness or the pendulum has swung so far to one side that prosecutors, or whoever those in the power to be, in certain situations, though it is selective, shout out to Chris Rock, it is selective, that they move quickly and swiftly in certain situations, and move much slower in others. So that, we know, is a deterring factor in here. How quickly they move depends on who it is and what it is. So, hey, insurrection, pay off a porn star, we'll take our time with that. Put your hands on a woman of a certain persuasion, we're throwing the book at you right then and there. But hey, that's not what we're here to talk about. We'll talk about that some other time. But anyway, so the brother Jonathan Majors, hopefully I don't know, I wasn't there. If he's guilty, he needs to, justice needs to be served. If he's innocent and he's falsely accused, justice needs to be served on those who's falsely accused him. They do. But I think, me personally, that this is just an indication of the I guess the politically correctness, or the cancel culture, or the culture that we're in, that, for appearance sakes, people believe that they have to move quickly on certain situations, as to not appear that they are not taking certain hot button issues seriously. So this brother happens to be a victim of that. Not saying that it's not important, not saying that it's not, but again, there's some dynamics that's going on here that factor into how swiftly justice is trying to move in this situation. So I say that to say all type things. Let me just lay it down, the caveat here. And we always like to start I like to start with some information. And by no means that am I saying that domestic violence is not an important issue, that it's not something that should be taken seriously, and that justice should not move swiftly. I'm not saying that at all. So let's just start here with some background. Again, I'm not using domestic violence per se as the speaking term. I'm really focusing on intimate partner violence. But for the purpose of the discussion, we'll just see, like we know, for the domestic violence stats will go with these, right? So again, on average, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. This is just the United States. So during 1 year, this equates to more than 10 million women and men. Again, let's make sure we include both genders because it happens on both parties. And that's something I want to talk about as well. So every 20 minutes, no, I'm sorry, every minute. So 20 people per minute. So that's 20 people per minute, 60 minutes in an hour. You do the math. So every hour, roughly 120 people are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. So during 1 year, this equates to more than 10 million women and men. So let's break this down on gender. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men experience severe intimate partner physical abuse or physical violence. Intimate partner contact sexual violence and intimate partner stalking with impacts such as injury, fearfulness, post-traumatic stress disorder, use of victim services, contraction of sexually transmitted disease. So all those. So I'm really more so focusing on right now, for the sake of this conversation, on intimate partner violence. And when I mean violence, I'm talking about violence in terms of physical, emotional, and I guess verbal. So we're going to say verbal violence. People choose violence verbally. Emotional, people use emotional manipulations as a form of violence. And physical, people put hands on you, right? So I'm talking about that. So this, for this conversation, those we're going to focus in on those three, right? So again, let me start here. 1 in 3 women. We all know that women are at a higher rate experience physical violence. But interesting enough, 1 in 4 men have experienced some form of physical violence by an intimate partner. So while women are at a higher clip, just on the physical violence part, and we're not going to the extreme, because we know when it comes to extreme trauma and death and physical we know women are disproportionately more affected by it than men. We do know that. But violence in itself, in those 3 aspects, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men. So that's a closer indication of how the violence is experienced in an intimate partner relationship, right? So just to add to this includes a range of behaviors: slapping, shoving, pushing, and again, emotional violence and verbal violence. So it goes down here to talk about the 1 in 7 women and 1 in 25 men have been injured by intimate partners. So when it goes to the aspects of injuring, again, 1 in 7 women, 1 in 25 men. So it's disproportionate for women. So let's just level set that. So when it comes to violence overall, and we're not talking about necessarily the extreme aspects of it, but we're saying violence between intimate partner in those 3 areas is pretty close, closely experienced by men and women, right? So we're not talking about the far extremes or those that end in death or really physical injury, but violence in the forms of physically putting your hands on somebody, verbally assaulting somebody, or emotionally doing those type things, right? So let's just level set that. So that's when I speak to intimate partner violence. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm discussing, right? And so even just to oppose, for the sake of it, for this argument, there's 2 stories, and these are the extremes. So just to level set what I'm talking about, there's 2. I'm going to show 2. These are the ultimate, and this is the extremes. So I'm pretty sure in these cases, it did not start with the extreme. It started with the more physical or the more just the introduction of violence into the intimate partner relationship, and it ultimately escalated in that one. So if you have been paying attention, if you have been on social media, this particular young lady on live basically murdered her husband on live. Whether you say she's intentional or not, she didn't. So I'm not going to play the full video, but I just want to use this piece of it to demonstrate the violence that occurred prior to her actually physically taking his life. So again, you can look this story up on there. Her mother was in the house, her kids was there. In this case, she appears to be the aggressor. And again, I can't say who introduced violence into the relationship initially, but ultimately, in this particular scenario, in this context, she is the one who appears to be the more aggressive in there. So let's start here. We'll listen a little bit, and I won't. And then I might come in, and then we'll go back and talk some more.
But he ain't here with his kids. He ain't helping.
Yeah, she on social media.
He left at 6:00. He left at 6:06 to go be with his mama. Be on his mama kid instead of over here trying to cook something to eat. Why is there got to be a question about doing?
Now that's her mother in the background who's feeding into this. So for me, this is an indication that this is what's the term that people used to say? They're trying to break the cycle. So this is probably a cycle of, right now, this is, in my opinion, this is verbal violence. This is verbal violence. So this is verbal abuse, I guess, or intimate partner violence that she's demonstrating here. And her mother is basically her amen in corner. So listen up and you'll see. That's her mother in the background chiming in. It's like basically amen in everything she's saying.
Do I need to cook for the kids? Why is there a question? He don't never have to question. He don't want to question everybody's loyalty. But where is his loyalty at? But he want to talk about me when I am not doing. He want to talk about me when I'm not doing. Talk about unnecessary. Then he talking about calling the police. Talk about I'm gonna get my stuff. But you got 4 kids and a wife. It's 7:36. He can't even be. He can't even come here and cook for these kids. He can't even come here and cook for the kids. He got to be at work at 8 o'clock. Nah, matter of fact, he got to be at work at 9. Okay, but he still got time to cook for these kids. And then he got to go pick up his. He got to go pick up his buddy from his job, Law. Well, he need to tell Law he need to get his mama car and go to work. He pick up his brother-in-law, take him to work back and forth every day. I ain't got nothing to nobody helping nobody, but he can't put gas in both cars. That's what I'm saying. If Law ain't getting him no gas money to go to work, talking about people got stuff. Okay, you wanna put it like that? Oh, I got stuff to do too. I'm over here. I got stuff to do too. I'm over here.
No, mind you, he's in the house. It's not like she's talking about him and he's not in the house. Look.
I'm over here. No, you ain't trying to get ready for work. Look at him. This is a sad case, y'all. He getting his stuff. Look at that. Sad case. As a father. Okay, Jeremy, what is the conversation you want to have? We're good. Yeah, and your baby in the room. You want to have? We're good.
Give me my phone, bro. Don't say
what is the conversation you want to have? What the conversation?
You see that?
He said, "What's the conversation?"
You see that? Now, that apparently was a factor in the Jonathan Majors incident as well, because according to the story, the young lady that he was in a phone with was upset because he was either getting some type of message, or I don't know if it's a phone call, whatever it was, from another woman. And she wanted to physically, wanted to see his phone or take his phone or something like that. So she basically tried to snatch the phone out of his hand, or she snatched it out of his hand, and that caused the altercation to kick off. This you will see in a lot of instances, even people posted on video. Someone is trying to physically snatch somebody's phone out of their hands. You know what I mean? So that is the act of violence. You know what I mean? That is violence. That is behavior that is unacceptable, it's inappropriate, and it should be a zero. Let me just put it out here. There should be a zero tolerance policy on any type of violence, particularly in an intimate relationship. It should never be introduced between the two parties. If you call yourself simply because the emotions that are tied to the two individuals will heighten the potential for that violence to be escalated to a level that in many cases results in someone getting seriously injured or hurt or losing their lives. So here, he's on his phone. Now she got her phone. She's got her mama aiming her in the background. So she in her mind, she believes that she's in the right. Now he's on the phone talking to his uncle, someone else. And because for whatever reason, she doesn't like it, or I don't know if she doesn't believe him, she tries to snatch his phone out of his hand or snatch his phone out of his shoulder. And he says he doesn't look like he's trying to be combative or anything. So again, I don't know what happened prior to this, but in this scenario, she seems to be the aggressor.
Don't tell me. I call the police over here. Don't do that.
Now he's saying he's gonna call the police.
What's the conversation y'all want to have?
Get on me.
What's the conversation you want to have?
I'm finna send man. Don't get you touch me.
Ain't nobody touching you.
I'm gonna send my cousin over here. Do not touch me, bro.
Don't call nobody over here.
Oh, baby, tell your daughter to keep her hands on me. Tell your daughter to keep her hands on me.
You the one slap me. You the one slap me. Hit me now. Hit me now.
Keep her hands on me.
What's on there? I'm still asking what
and why are you filming this on social media?
I'm finna get out. I ain't really trying to argue at all. I'm just trying to get my...
No, you want to go tell your family about this, about that. You want to do this.
I'm trying to leave from over here and pee, man. I ain't trying to argue at all.
I'm going to take my car key off.
Stop.
See, here's again. He's not going to take her car. She just said they got two cars. So because she's in her feeling, or she doesn't want him to leave the way he's leaving, now she's trying to find a reason to create a physical situation with him. Now she says he slapped her. He probably has in the past, and they may have both gotten physical. But in this scenario, in this situation here, she's initiated all the violence from here. Now I'm not going to play much more of this because I don't want to go into the unfortunate situation, and they don't play it. It's not on video, but you can hear it verbally when she goes and get an actual weapon and then fires and ultimately kills him. So if you've seen this, or if you've watched it already, you already know the outcomes. And unfortunately, her children are there, her mother's there, and the entire internet is there for her to see. So it doesn't look like she's going to be being home anytime soon. Look like she's about to go away for a long time. I'd be curious just to see how if she has a good attorney or how they do this. So and again, just to juxtapose or give her the alternative situation, this situation, I'm gonna play this video for. It's very disturbing, of this young man or this guy, but let me play it for you and just let you see. So it's again, you could argue that this is a mental health issue or mental illness issue, but I'm only showing this to show that this type of caliber of guy, and unfortunately he has several victims, but the one he was in an intimate relationship with and ultimately wind up killing, they should never cross paths. There's no dynamic where it would be a good idea for her to enter into some type of intimate relationship with her, given this guy's past. And I don't know if he hid it very well. She just didn't care. She just didn't know. I don't know. I don't know the background behind it, but let me just play a little bit. It's a little disturbing, some of the comments, but let's see. Peep this.
Ready to move on. That's it. I mean, it's over with.
This is the story of Xavier Hill, aged 31, a brand consultant and a motivational speaker, who was gunned down by her so-called boyfriend, Kola Beal IV, aged 30. He would eventually go on a shooting spree, killing his dad, his cousin and Xavier's dog before being captured by the Hampton Police Division SWAT team. All this happened because Xavier's parent did not approve some things in their relationship. This is a kind of weird case, with a weird defendant, weird all in all.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Let's Talk Tuesday. It's me, Xavier, your hostess with the mostest.
Xavier Hill, aged 31, was a nice young woman who had her life going for herself and was on the right path to succeeding.
Today is a new day. Don't let the failures, the fears, the doubts of yesterday stop you from being your best self today. God has gifted you with everything that you need to accomplish all the tasks set before you. You got this. Pray, plan, and execute.
Xavier Hill was a brand consultant, marketing consultant, life coach, and also a motivational speaker. Xavier grew up wanting to impact people's lives. She attended Regent University where she got her master's in human services. She started her own company called 114 & Company where she tried helping small businesses by providing them with great branding and digital marketing strategies. Xavier would post on her social media motivational speeches aimed at helping people going through some tough times.
Listen, whatever you do this season, don't quit. I know it's getting difficult. I know it's challenging. I know you feel like your back is against the wall. But trust me when I tell you that God sees you, He hears you, He knows you've been faithful. And right when you think you can't go any further, He's going to show up and blow your mind. Don't quit.
She was really bent on making people happy in the little ways she could. Xavier met a young man named Kola Beal. They started dating and things looked really nice and sweet for them. They spent Christmas with families and shared nice memories together. On his birthday, she posted on her social media saying, "My love, it's your day. Thank you for being so patient, so loving, and so kind. It's hard to find the words to express how much you mean, but I will keep writing until it feels like enough. You have the biggest heart I know. Your love for me leaves me speechless. Every dream in your heart will come to pass, and every desire is already yours. Your best days are ahead of you." Things would start turning left when her boyfriend, Kola Beal, started feeling pressure from her parents. After Xavier started her company, her parent was wondering what Kola is bringing to the table. That started causing a lot of tension between Xavier and Kola. Kola was not so happy about the complaints he was receiving from Xavier's parents. On March 24th at the 5500 block of Baccalaureate Drive in the Campus East area of Virginia Beach where Xavier and Kola lived, an argument ensued between them. He got so upset that he wanted to kill Xavier's dog, but Xavier would not let that happen. She told him to do whatever he wanted to do to the dog to her. That was what he actually did. He shot Xavier right in the head. 2 days later, he returned to the home to burn it down, killing Xavier's dog as well. Police would arrive at the scene but nothing could be done to save Xavier. Kola then left for his adopted father's house, 73-year-old Clifton Baxter. He claimed he was enraged by some things he had done to him during some hard times, making him to snap again, then shooting him in the head. He stole $20,000 from his safe, then fled to his cousin's house named Downing McLean. Upon getting to his cousin's house, he told him about what he had done and decided to go help him kill some of his rivals who he had problems with since he was already a killer. Along the line, things turned south between them, making him upset again. Then he shot his cousin in the head, killing him. Downing McLean was fast. Kola, who was also a convicted sex offender, became a priority for the cops. He has a long criminal past and a family history of violence. His father, Kola Beal III, killed his wife back in 2014.
Police said back then that at least once before the murder, they had responded to the couple's Maryland home for a domestic dispute. At the time, neighbors couldn't believe what had happened.
I was just a bit shocked, stunned. It's sad. It's a sad situation.
Court documents show that Kola Beal IV is a convicted sex offender with a history of run-ins with the law. In 2013, he pled guilty to robbery, conspiracy, and use of a firearm in the commission of a felony. 4 years later, he pled guilty to sexual battery of a victim under the age of 13. He was out on probation for those charges when he was caught driving drunk on Naval Station Norfolk in 2019. He was found guilty of that federal DUI charge. He was then sentenced to spend 5 days in jail. Now he's accused of killing his girlfriend.
Happened in Virginia Beach and another in Norfolk. One victim was a...
Okay, let me see. I'm going to go and show you him talking. Now, look at his extensive background. I don't know why this sister, and I'm not victim blaming. I just don't know how these two crossed paths and how, she wind up in a relationship with him. I'm pretty sure her family is agonizing over it, as I would be. And I'm sure they had some concerns. And again, I don't know if what she knew about his past or what he was doing or what he told her. But these are two individuals who you would think, based on their background, would not be equally yoked or be in that type of situations. But that's neither here nor there. So just wanted to juxtapose these two extreme situations. Can't say for sure that this was their first introduction to violence. I doubt it. I doubt it that they went from no violence, intimate partner violence, to him killing everybody and going on this stream. It's not likely that this was the first time something like that happened, right? So unfortunately, this is a sad state, a sad situation, but it's an indication that there has to be a zero tolerance for, as what they call it, intimate partner violence. There has to be a zero tolerance on both parties. There should not, I guess people make mistakes, but there should be a zero tolerance for violence. Any form of violence that someone introduced, there's no excuse, because that means that particular person has some work to do, that they are not, they're still dealing with some trauma or whatever. And we know violence begets violence. As you see here, the young man, his father, wind up killing his wife. And so that's not to, that demonstrates that this is probably a cycle of violence that he's witnessed. People don't just come out the womb. Most people don't come out the womb violent. Violence is something that you were introduced to, just like every other aspects of our personality. When we're introduced to it, we pick up things from our environment, our family members, and what we see. So when children see violence, violence becomes normalized, and they adopt that, and they're more likely to beget violence upon the people around them that they see. So if unfortunately, if you a child sees a mother or father going upside their partner's head, they're going to think that's normal. And if they don't get some help or some type of counseling or do the work, they're going to bring that aspect into it. Even if it's not physical, the verbal violence, speaking to your intimate partner, someone you're supposed to love and care for, because you're upset and you can't control your emotions, so that you can speak to them in any kind of way. You can talk to them any kind of way. You can call them names. And the justification is you were upset or you was out of character. Okay, people make mistakes, but you can't be that far removed from your character that this is a recurring thing. So again, there should be a zero tolerance for any form of violence in an intimate partner relationship. If you're not violence within itself, if you're not using it to defend yourself or defend your family or your loved one, there should not be, if you're not using it to defend your life, there's no reason you should introduce violence in any form into your intimate partner relationship. As I said before, the emotions are going to intensify the response from that and make it more volatile than it needs to be. So crimes of passion is things. A lot back in the day, people got off crimes of passion. They lost their mind. They snapped. But people don't typically snap on the first occurrence. It's a buildup. It's usually a buildup. It's not a, hey, we got into one disagreement and from this point on, I just lost my mind. And I went here and I just killed everybody, or I just went upside everybody's heads. No, it's usually a gradual thing. It's an introduced violence to it, and it continues to build upon itself. So it's a sad state, but it is unfortunately what appears to be relationship goals. For some people out there, the drama. Why are these two? And again, you can't, if one of them show, their relationship, everything around them, this particular couple, I'm not even gonna say their name, you know who they are. Violence is in and around everything that they do. So there's no surprise, or there won't be a surprise if one of them ends up in a severely injured or much worse situation. So let me just show you this. You can see these are the subtle things that you can see that should be a zero tolerance. So let's just play this because we know. So
He can't do no, but you did though. And we was beefing.
I know, but
so
after
he did this weird shit.
okay, yeah, you
I went to
established
buy a watch. He got mad because he stole his money, and then it's just we gotta make a rule. Like you can't do stuff with opposite sex. That's weird.
So she made this rule. She said you can't do no
now look,
music.
you saw that?
No females. I said, all right, cool.
You see that?
Females are-
Something is sort of like that. She popping him in the mouth, even though she didn't do it hard. That's a introduction. That you should never put your hands on somebody like that, male or female. But that's introducing violence or some type of physical response to you not liking what he said or had an emotional response to it. To it, that's a physical response to an emotional way you're feeling. Keep your hands to yourself, even if we're having a disagreement, we're having a conversation. This is introducing violence into their relationship. And again, this is subtle probably in comparison to what they do on a regular basis.
I want to do a song with you anyway. But
you did though.
Look,
she didn't think about herself.
You see that?
This rule was made after.
You see that? Poking him in the hand, poking his head side of his head. That's unacceptable from either party. That's unacceptable. That should be that. If that occurs anywhere in your relationship, you guys have a problem. You have a problem. You have a problem. There's no way around it because you don't have the emotional maturity or the emotional control not to have a physical response when you're upset or when you're feeling emotion. I don't know if you need to learn how to put your hands in your pocket or what do you need to do? But that is unacceptable behavior. It should not be tolerated from either party. Again, you can, and we're not even talking about we haven't got into the verbal abuse and the name calling and calling people out their names and the emotional abuse that happens when, or the emotional violence that happens when people use emotions or your feelings for them as a weapon against you. We need to have entered into this part of it. So let's see what else they do.
after that because of that. So let's stay on.
It wasn't after that because of that.
Yes, it
See,
was.
and look,
He was like, oh,
now
he
when
flinched.
niggas get at her talking
I
about,
got a
oh,
quick little boy.
let's work, let's link, what's the number? I get at her like, oh, I thought you had this rule of like no working with the opposite sex. Like you made this rule. I thought it was
I was gonna work with these people without
I thought it was a weird
I was
fucking
gonna
rule.
work with you.
So the fact that she's even like, you know,
no,
entertaining
he can make a
this,
play better.
This working thing with these niggas is like, you made this strange ass rule up. So, hey, what can I do? You made it up. Like,
what we need them for?
What? I got
what we need them for?
She made this weird ass rule
Hello, what we need them for?
Exactly, what we need them for.
Okay.
So
why are you trying to
wait? Let me talk about the time that I did do it. Nigga made a bag and paid like $40,000.
Hey.
Until you get the feature.
Who believe that?
Let me see.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, I think
You get the tribute feature?
demonstrate. Now, I'm pretty sure the physical part of it happens on both parts of it. And I'm sure there's other videos out there of them fighting and going back and forth, and they do what they do. And then the next minute they're back in love. And I think at this point, I don't know how old this video is. I think she's expecting now. But if they don't set some boundaries or some guidelines around managing or removing that violence from their relationship, it's not going to end, because again, at some point, it's going to get to the point where it's escalated to a point where it becomes much worse, and someone gets seriously hurt or injured, and we don't know what the outcome is going to be. So again, for you out there in these relationships, for you out there, men and women, maybe this is a conversation that should be had. Maybe this is a conversation that you should really dig down and deep and ask those questions. Have you ever gotten into a physical altercation with someone you were dating? And again, we ain't even talking about the other violence. Have you torn up somebody's car? Have you broken something? Have you slashed tires? That's violence. Have you ripped up jeans, poured bleach on it? Have you broken somebody's phone? Have you, showed up, kicked in somebody's door? Have you showed up unexpected, not invited, acting a fool out somebody's house or job? These are questions that you need to ask. These are some questions that, conversation y'all need to start having initially. And apparently, it's not funny anymore, but it might be worth it to do those background checks, men and women. It would be worth it if it costs you $49 or however much it costs, and you find out that this person has a history of violence, and you there's no and people change. I get it, but it's not your responsibility or your job to accept them when they have a past like that. That is a deal breaker. You can have your deal breakers. History of domestic violence. This is the guy who killed the young lady. He's a sex offender. Look up people's record. I mean, and again, I don't shout out to this brother Jonathan Major. Hopefully he comes out clean. I don't know what his history is. I don't know what her history is. But I would want to know who tires you slash? Who did you throw a brick through there at somebody's house? And I think there was a story around with Tank and Fizz baby mama where she did some damage and stuff. Now you go in there eyes wide open, but if she tells you that, I slashed my ex's tires because he was cheating on me. There's no justification that he cheated on you. I'm sorry that happened to you, boo. Move on with your life. You know, did he, you know, there's really no excuse. There's really no excuse. You want to get vengeful? Okay, there's no excuse. There's no excuse for introducing violence into an intimate relationship. There's no excuse. If you're not defending yourself, that means the relationship is over. If you have to introduce violence to defend yourself, then that relationship is over. That relationship is over. It cannot go on. You can't move past that. You shouldn't try to move past that. It's not your job to try to move past that or forgive somebody and stay in that relationship. You can forgive them and move on with your life. But if they've introduced violence or you have introduced violence, that person has every right to get as far away from you as possible. Even if it requires them getting the law involved. And you can't overlook that. People, you cannot overlook that. It's not cute. It's not fun. It's not, oh, he loved me. No, she loved me. No. There's no place for it. There's no place for violence in an intimate relationship. It should never be introduced. It should never even be thought of. If you, as an individual, if you feel yourself wanting to introduce violence into the relationship, you need to remove yourself from that. You have to be the one to remove yourself. If you feel like you got to bust somebody's window, why would you want to stay there? And again, we're not talking about when people get in long term and there's a history of domestic abuse. We know that there's statistics and there's a reason why people stay. But I'm talking about you, the aggressor. If you feel like you got to knock somebody upside the head, something is wrong. And you have to, both parties, you have to take it upon yourself and say, okay, and this is in the beginning. This is early on. Don't wait. And I'm sure there's exceptions to the rule, but violence in any form, if it's introduced into the relationship, it should be a zero tolerance. And again, there's people out there who can, I guess they're great at chameleons. They can hide it. They can hide it maybe for a long time. They may be hiding it for years. But if there's any indications of it, or if you see any issues of it, there is nothing noble by standing there waiting for it to escalate or seeing if the other shoe gonna drop. Violence in any form into the relationships is unacceptable. And if you try to, there's no justification for it. Even biblically, there's no justification for it. So, name calling, that's violence. You know, the physical is the obvious. Destroying property. Emotional violence. Yep. All of that. Any indication of it, and these are conversations. Tell me your the worst story that you did. You know, you got to be subtle with it, I guess, because I guess nobody's going to just self-snitch or dry snitch. But if you're having these conversations and, you know, they let it be known that, yeah, I got into a fight. Me and my ex used to fight all the time. You mean physically? Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I understand. All right, then you have a nice one. I'll talk to you soon. Then that's your exit. Exit stage left. Get to getting. It ain't cute. You're not different from them. You're not different from the exit. There's nothing that you can say that somebody did to them that justified them acting out like that. I mean, if you can give me a scenario, let me know. Let a brother know. If there's a scenario that justifies, if you're not defending yourself or your kids or your family, justifying, because it's usually premeditated, you doing a premeditated act where you're going to someone's place of residence with the intent of introducing violence, with the intent of, slashing their tires, throwing a brick through their windshield, throwing paint on them, pouring hot grease or grits, whatever your plan is, whether it be you who introduce it or you who see it, there should be a zero tolerance. And again, if I feel like I got to go upside your head, this is just Mr. P talking. I can't be with you. And if I feel like you want to go upside my head, I can't be with you, boo. We're not good together, boo. No. Do not normalize this. That is not normal behavior. And I don't know the history with Jonathan Majors and this young lady, but me personally, this relationship is over. It's over. You can't come back from that. You say I strangled you. Whether I did or I didn't, you said I strangled you. Police were involved. We can't be together, boo. That's it. No, we can't be together. I don't know if you want to hang around till you get these charges taken care of, but we can't be together, boo. We cannot. Yeah, we probably both need some counseling. We need some therapy. And some people can work through it, but I'm not saying you stick around and figure it out. I'm saying figure it out on yourself, heal yourself, work on yourself. Because again, it's like it's an introductory period. It's like it's normalized. It's like, when people want to become immune to a venom or a toxin, like snake handlers, they'll give themselves a little bit of venom over a period of time, and they build up some immunity to it. So when they get bit by a snake out in the wild, they don't die. It might hurt. It's some discomfort, but a normal person get bit, they're going to die. They're going to go into shock. But see, if you're staying in that relationship, you're basically getting fed that poison slowly. And then so just a little bit more to a point where you become immune to it, to a point where, somebody slap you upside your head, you're not appalled by it. You're not shocked. You're not disgusted. It's a part of y'all dynamic. It's passionate. No. Will she call you out names? She talk about your mama, your sister, your brother, everybody in your family. No. It's become normalized. No, it's poison. You become immune to the poison. Violence in intimate partner relationship is a no-go. Let me make sure I'm saying this right. I say no bueno. That's like no. Sorry to my Spanish-speaking brother. So what is no bueno? No bueno. Let's see what it means. No bueno? Yes. No bueno. It's no bueno. Not good. So, again, we'll see what happens. And unfortunately, in our news cycle, these things come up again. And not to keep dragging this brother's name through the mud, but, back in the day, Mr. Brown and Miss Rihanna had their situation. And I think for a small period of time, they tried to either reconcile or work something out. No bueno. That was it. That's the end of it. You shouldn't have to get shot in the foot. No bueno. That wasn't the first time violence was entered into that relationship. You ain't got to be outside the Cadillac jumping over bullets. No bueno. No excuse. And again, I'm not talking about the exception to the exception to the exception. I'm saying no intimate partner violence, period. What y'all say? Period, poo, point blank, in no forms. Because again, once it's been introduced, it's like you got a concussion. You're more likely to get another concussion. After that first concussion, you're more likely to get another one. So, all right. Let me wrap this thing up. I think we're rolled over into the next day. So, again, thank you once again for tuning in to Nightcap with Mr. P, brought to you by Straight Talk with Dr. V and Mr. P. Dr. V, Mr. P will be back and better in the next coming week. We just had some situational scenarios that we had to take care of. You know, we'll talk about that when we get back. So look forward to partnering up with my partner in crime, partner in love, Dr. V. So stay tuned for that. And again, thank you once again for tuning in to Nightcap with Mr. P, brought to you by Straight Talk with Dr. V. Good night. God bless. I pray God blesses you in the days to come, and that any troubles on your heart are laid to rest. And when you wake up in the morning, you have more clarity than you had the day before. If you haven't already, share this video with your friends, anyone. And I don't have the number for the domestic violence hotline or anything like that. If you're dealing with that, I pray that you have discernment, or you have peace, or you find a way out of the storm. Again, I'm not saying stay in it. I'm just saying Mr. P wants you to be the best version of yourself. And again, you don't owe anybody any explanations about what's best for you when it comes to violence. Again, tune in next time. I'll see you on the flip side. Peace. Shout out to the Corny brothers out there again. Mr. P, out. Vibe with me one more time. Vibe with me.